The Old Testament contains numerous prophecies that were fulfilled in various ways throughout biblical history. Here are some notable examples of prophecies and their fulfillments. The book of Genesis contains several prophecies that came to pass within the narrative of the Bible. Here are some notable examples. 1. The prophecy of the serpent's defeat. Prophecy, Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Fulfillment. This is often seen as the first messianic prophecy, foretelling the ultimate defeat of Satan by Jesus Christ. The striking of the heel represents Christ's suffering, while the crushing of the head symbolizes Christ's victory over sin and death. 2. The promise to Abraham. Prophecies. Numerous descendants. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Genesis 12:2. Land of Canaan. To your offspring I will give this land. Genesis 12:7. Blessing to all nations, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Genesis 12:3. Fulfillment. Numerous descendants. Abraham's descendants became the nation of Israel, fulfilling the promise of numerous offspring. Land of Canaan. The Israelites eventually took possession of Canaan under Joshua's leadership. Blessing to all nations. This is seen as being fulfilled through Jesus Christ, a descendant of Abraham, who brought salvation to all people. 3. The birth of Isaac. Prophecy. Genesis 17:19. Then God said, "Yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him." Fulfillment. Genesis 21:1-3. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. 4. The prophecy of Ishmael's future. Prophecy. Genesis 16:11-12. The angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." Fulfillment. Genesis 21:20-21. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. Ishmael's descendants are traditionally considered to be the Arab nations, known for their historical conflicts and nomadic lifestyle, which aligns with the prophecy. 5. The prophecy of Esau and Jacob. Prophecy. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." Fulfillment. Genesis 27:29. Isaac blessed Jacob, saying, "May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you." The descendants of Jacob, Israel, became a prominent nation, while Esau's descendants, Edom, were subjugated and eventually assimilated into other cultures. 6. The prophecy of Joseph's dreams. Prophecy. Genesis 37:5-7. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." Genesis 37:9. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Fulfillment. Genesis 42:6. Now Joseph was the governor of the land, the person who sold grain to all its people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. Genesis 43:26. When Joseph came home, they presented to him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. 7. The prophecy of Judah's leadership. Prophecy. Genesis 49:10. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. Fulfillment. The tribe of Judah became the leading tribe in Israel, producing the line of kings, including David and Solomon, and ultimately Jesus Christ, who is considered the fulfillment of the prophecy of the eternal ruler from Judah. 8. The prophecy of Israel's future in Egypt. Prophecy. Genesis 15:13-14. Then the Lord said to him, "Know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions." Fulfillment. Exodus 12:40-41. Now the length of time the Israelite people lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, all the Lord's divisions left Egypt. The Israelites were enslaved in Egypt, and later liberated during the Exodus, receiving great possessions from the Egyptians as they left. These prophecies and their fulfillments demonstrate the accuracy and reliability of the biblical narrative, reinforcing the faith of believers in the divine inspiration of the Scriptures. The books of 1 and 2 Samuel contain several prophecies that were fulfilled within the biblical narrative. Here are some notable examples. 9. The prophecy of Eli's house. Prophecy. 1 Samuel 2:30-34. The Lord declared to Eli that his house would no longer serve as priests due to the wickedness of his sons, Hophni and Phinehas. A sign given was that both sons would die on the same day. 1 Samuel 2:31-34. The time is coming when I will cut short your strength and the strength of your priestly house, so that no one in it will reach old age. And what happens to your 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, will be a sign to you. They will both die on the same day. Fulfillment. 1 Samuel 4:11. The ark of God was captured, and Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Later, Eli himself died upon hearing the news, and the house of Eli continued to suffer as prophesied. 10. The prophecy of Samuel's rise. Prophecy. 1 Samuel 3:11-14. The Lord told Samuel that he would carry out against Eli everything he had spoken concerning his family. Samuel 3:12. At that time I will carry out against Eli everything I spoke against his family, from beginning to end. Fulfillment. 1 Samuel 3:19-20. The Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of Samuel's words fall to the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord. Samuel became a significant prophet and judge in Israel, as the Lord had promised. 11. The prophecy of Saul's kingship. Prophecy. 1 Samuel 9:15-16. The Lord revealed to Samuel that he would send a man from the land of Benjamin, and Samuel was to anoint him as ruler over Israel. 1 Samuel 9:15-16. Now, the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. About this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him ruler over my people Israel. He will deliver them from the hand of the Philistines. I have looked on my people, for their cry has reached me. Fulfillment. 1 Samuel 10:1. Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance?" Saul became the first king of Israel, as foretold by God to Samuel. 12. The prophecy of Saul's downfall. Prophecy. 1 Samuel 13:14-14. Samuel told Saul that his kingdom would not endure because he had not kept the Lord's command, and the Lord sought a man after his own heart to be ruler. 1 Samuel 13:14. You have done a foolish thing, Samuel said. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command. Fulfillment. 1 Samuel 15:28. Samuel said to him, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to one of your neighbors, to one better than you." David, a man after God's own heart, was anointed as king while Saul was still reigning, fulfilling this prophecy. 13. The prophecy of David's kingship. Prophecy. 1 Samuel 16:12-13. Samuel anointed David as king. 1 Samuel 16:12-13. So he sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Fulfillment. 2 Samuel 2:4. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, and there they anointed David king over the tribe of Judah. 2 Samuel 5:3. When all the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, the king made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. 14. The prophecy of David's dynasty. Prophecy. 2 Samuel 7:12-16. Now the Lord promised David through the prophet Nathan that his house and kingdom would endure forever before him. His throne would be established forever. Samuel 7:12-16. When your days are over and you rest with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will punish him with a rod wielded by men, with floggings inflicted by human hands. But my love will never be taken away from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever. Fulfillment. David's son Solomon built the temple, and the Davidic line continued through the kings of Judah. Ultimately, this prophecy finds its fulfillment in Jesus Christ, who is often referred to as the Son of David, and whose kingdom is eternal. These prophecies and their fulfillments illustrate the sovereign control of God over history and his faithfulness to his word. They also underscore the themes of judgment, redemption, and the establishment of God's kingdom through his chosen servants. 15. The prophecy of Israel's exile and return. Prophecy. Exile to Babylon. Jeremiah prophesied that Judah would be taken into captivity by Babylon for 70 years. Jeremiah 25:11-12. This whole country will become a desolate wasteland, and these nations will serve the king of Babylon 70 years. But when the 70 years are fulfilled, I will punish the king of Babylon and his nation, the land of the Babylonians, for their guilt, declares the Lord, and will make it desolate forever. Fulfillment. Exile and return. The Babylonian captivity began in 586 BCE and ended around 538 BCE when King Cyrus of Persia allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. Ezra 1:1-3. In the first year of Cyrus king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus king of Persia to make a proclamation throughout his realm, and also to put it in writing. This is what Cyrus king of Persia says: "The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. Any of his people among you may go up to Jerusalem in Judah and build the temple of the Lord, the God of Israel, the God who is in Jerusalem, and may their God be with them." 16. The prophecy of the suffering servant. Prophecy. Suffering servant. Isaiah prophesied about a suffering servant who would bear the sins of many. Isaiah 53:3-5. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. Fulfillment. Jesus' crucifixion. The New Testament portrays Jesus as the suffering servant who bore the sins of humanity. 1 Peter 2:24. He himself bore our sins in his body on the cross, so that we might die to sins and live for righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed.